I know you guys should be used to this by now, but remember, if you see the pause symbol, pause, take whatever notes you need to. When you're done taking your notes, unpause it, and continue on with the presentation. So next, the objective. The student will be able to understand what is a coordinate plane, and they'll be able to label all the parts. This will be done through a presentation and classroom activity. This presentation is probably going to be a little bit longer than the presentations you guys have had the past few weeks. It's not going to be a 6-minute presentation. I don't know the exact time, but it's probably going to be around 10 minutes, if not over 10 minutes. So it's not too hard. There is a lot of detail in there. There'll be a lot of pauses, and there's a lot of different sections. So good luck on this. Definitions. First, you have to know the definitions of the stuff I'm going to be talking about. So we're going to have a slide with a few definitions, and there'll be definitions again a little bit later in the presentation. But first, definition of horizontal, from left to right, in a parallel, and it's going to be parallel to the horizon. So I made this picture of this little fancy sunset, and look at, there's a sun, some clouds, and in a minute you're going to see horizon and horizontal both start with H. So think of a thing like that. Horizontal is from left to right. That little line that appeared, it goes across the horizon. So it's kind of like looking out at the distance. That's that flat line. That's the horizon. Next, vertical is straight up and down. So vertical, there's a few different ways to look at vertical. Vertical is kind of like a hot air balloon. So hot air balloons, you pull the little thing, and that's the little sound it makes, which Mr. Beuthin's awesomely doing. And then it goes up. And then as the heat starts to deflate, it goes down. Next is the rocket. More rockets go, makes all the little smoke, and then the rocket shoots up into the air. That's another way to look it up. Vertical is up. Horizontal is from left to right. Okay, number lines are exactly what they sound like. It's a line with numbers on it. And we use it to graphically represent numbers and points and different things. So first, we have a number line. We have equally spaced distance, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, going in the positive direction. And you're going to find on the second, positive direction is always going to be the right of 0. And negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So anything to the negative is always going to be to the left of 0. So all equally spaced apart, but how a number line works. We have numbers on a line. So in a second, you see 5 pop up. All we're doing is we're putting a point on 5. So we're going to go from 0. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then we just throw a little point on there. It doesn't matter what direction we go. For example, this next one's going to be negative 2. So negative 2, all we're just going to do is instead of going to the right to 0, we go to that negative side of 0. So we go back. Wait for it to catch up to me. Go back 1, 2. And then we put a point there. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. Wherever it tells you to put the point is where you put the point. So like this one. This one's going to be positive 2. So we're just going to put it on positive 2, right above the number on the number line. So also we can go by multiples of more than 1. Like this is by 3s. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18. Those are all multiples of 3. So as long as they're equal distance apart, we can use them. So this one, we're just going to put it on 12 now. That's how you do higher numbers, is by bigger multiples other than 1. So there's for the 12. It also doesn't matter. You just look at what the point says and you put it there. So like this one, 0. 0 isn't to the right or to the left. It's just right on the line as 0. Okay, next, bad, evil, angry face. Don't do the following because it means other stuff or it's just not how it's done. So first, often what we people have is they circle the number. First, it always has to be on the line, not above the line. Not just it's always on the line. And circling means something different later. So first, bad. The little bad box, we'll throw that in the bad box. You do not circle the numbers. Please, please, please don't circle the numbers. Don't circle above the number on the line because that actually means something different. Again, you're going to find out in higher level math classes it's used for inequalities, but don't circle above the number. Again, it goes into the bad box. We never want to see it again. Don't put an X. It's a circle. Just like the Scantrons, fill in the bubble completely, fill in the circle completely, don't put an X to it. So this X goes into the bad box, never to be seen again. And this is all stuff I've seen, so don't think it doesn't happen. Like this 2. Don't put an arrow above the 2. Don't put, hey, it's right there. No. Circle. Like in the Scantron, bubbles, whatever you want to do, but it doesn't get an arrow either. Arrow goes into the bad box. This is all stuff I should not be seeing on you guys' assignments. Don't do squiggly lines. Don't just spend some time making a circle. Don't do smiley faces. Don't do lightning bolts. And don't do little ducklings either. I don't care what it is. It just needs to be a circle, some sort of circle. Here's your pause part. If you need to take any notes, we're going to go into kind of a different section in a minute. So pause, take what notes you need to, and when you're done, continue on with the presentation so you can keep learning more about coordinate planes. So here's your chance to do a few of these problems. They shouldn't be too hard. So there's only 5 of them. Take a second, do all 5 problems, okay? You're going to have to rewrite the little graph, so you're going to have to spend some time to rewrite that on your paper, what the number line looks like. But take a minute, graph -3, 2, -12, -8, 0, graph all of them. And if you do get them wrong, go back and review what we had before. It shouldn't take too long, but go back and review to see the information that you missed. So hopefully you got all those questions right. If you did not get them right, I'm sorry. Go back, review, see what parts you missed and didn't understand, because we're actually going to go into vertical number lines instead of horizontal number lines. Next, we're going to go into vertical number lines, as I just said. So vertical number lines are basically up and down, where horizontal number lines are side to side. But there's a few different ways to look at vertical number lines. So I'm originally from the Midwest, not from Arizona, and occasionally we get what's called below zero weather. So if you notice, we have a little picture of the thermostat over there, and then there's that 0. So occasionally what happens is that number goes below 0, so it starts going negative. So the farther you go down, numbers go negative. Just like in Arizona, everything's always high, so we're used to those 112s, 100-degree days, 110-degree days. So those would be positive because they're all above 0. So anything above 0 is positive. Anything below 0 is negative. We also have our rocket ship. As the rocket ship takes off, that's smoke from a rocket ship, it will go up. And the higher up, the bigger the distance, or the bigger the number. But now we have our vertical number line with numbers on it. So we're going to do 0 first. 0, like I said, is that point where 0, where it's not up or down. It's ground level. So 0, you just put a point at 0. Remember, no X's, no circles, no squiggly lines, none of that. You have to just put a dot, a point, like this one, 2. 2 means we're going above the ground, above 0, up 2. So we just put a point at positive 2. So we have a negative one that should be coming up right now. We also have -4. -4 would be down from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's where we throw it right over there, just down 4. So I have another pause slide because in a second we're going to be doing the review. So if you need to pause, pause. If you don't need to pause, continue on to the next part, which is the little check for understanding to see if you guys know what you're doing. So here's the next part. We have the little slide with how many, 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. Spend a few minutes, do all 4 questions. And then when you're done with the 4 questions, they should review themselves on the screen. If you get it wrong, go back to the side to see what you guys did wrong. I apologize ahead of time. If you hear voices in the background, that's Mr. Valentine next door. I know I do have videos with crying babies in it too, so I'm sorry if you hear background noise, but this is coordinate planes and coordinate systems, what we're doing next. So coordinate plane, or coordinate system, which is also called a coordinate plane, is number lines on a plane or in space. So that's what it is. It's basically 2 number lines put together on a plane in space. So we have the x-axis, which is horizontal from left to right and parallel to the horizon. So I just highlighted the x-axis in red for you. So if horizontal is from left to right, and that's going to be x, our next one is going to be our y-axis. Our y-axis is our vertical axis, which is straight up and down. So I'm going to highlight this one in red now too. Give it a second. So there's our y-axis. So our x is from side to side, and our y is up and down. So there's those two. You combine both the x and y together, and that's how you get a coordinate system or a coordinate plane. Origin. Origin is also where the axes meet. So where that x meets that y, you're going to find out it kind of makes right there. That's going to be 0, 0, which you'll find out later, which is our origin, which is that point right there where the x meets the y, the vertical meets the horizontal. So our definition, a quadrant is one of 4 regions in a coordinate system separated by the x and y axis. So I label the x-axis, I label the y-axis, and starting on the right is coordinate 1, then coordinate 2, coordinate 3, and coordinate 4. Quadrant, not quadrant, sorry. Quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4, not coordinate. Mr. Beuthin can't read today, but quadrant 1, 2, 3, and 4, and use Roman numerals. 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for 4. So those are what you're going to do. Make sure you throw those in your notes because tomorrow we're going to be doing an activity with that. But right now, if you notice quadrant 1 is red, quadrant 2 is yellow, quadrant 3 is blue, quadrant 4 is going to be green. So again, red, yellow, blue, green. 1 is red, 2 is yellow, blue is 3, and green is 4. So you're going to notice later, I'm going to show where we're going to have to label it. So red would be 1, yellow would be 2, blue would be 3, and green will be 4. And you'll see this in a second how this works. So right now, a new one's going to pop up, and you guys need to write what quadrant it's in. So give it 1 sec for it to catch up with me. La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. Like I said, sorry if the timing isn't perfect on a few of these. I'm still trying to learn. So which one is blue, which one is green, which one's orange, and which one's purple? So write on a sheet of paper, or just think in your head too, okay? Blue is which one? Purple is which one? Orange is which one? And green is which one? So think about in your head or write it on your paper which one is which. I'm going to give you guys a second. I'll tell you the answers. Okay, so hopefully you got that right top one. That's going to be quadrant 1, which is blue. Quadrant 2 is green. Quadrant 3 is orange. And quadrant 4 is purple. So let's do this once more again. We have green, blue, red, and yellow. So which is which? Is yellow quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? Is red quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? Is blue quadrant 1, 2, 3, or 4? And is green quadrant 1, 2, 3, 4? Either shout them out, think of them in your head. If you want to write them on your paper, write them on your paper, but I'm going to give you a minute to think. Which was which color? Okay, hopefully you got this. 1 was green, 2 was blue, 3 was red, and yellow was 4. So hopefully you got those right. If not, this is a little activity. We're going to be doing something similar in class tomorrow where we're labeling and coloring all the different coordinates in the coordinate plane. So hopefully you got those right. If you didn't, go back, see, even write in your notes, okay, what's 1, what's 2, what's 3, what's 4. Go back and write them so you can figure out what's going on inside your presentation, what notes you can do so you can get better on the test. Okay, this is the last pause screen because we are almost done. So if you didn't understand something, please go back so you can understand what you did wrong so you can get better on it. So tomorrow you'll understand what we're doing in class. But to recap, vertical is up and down, horizontal is side to side. So you got to understand those. You got to know what which way is positive and which way is negative on both vertical and horizontal number lines. You also have to know later that 2 number lines together makes a coordinate plane or a coordinate system. That if it is side to side, it's going to be x. So if it's a horizontal one, it's x. If it's vertical, it's a y-axis. You got to know the different quadrants where 1, 2, 3, and 4 is. So hopefully you got all this. Good luck tomorrow in class, but we're actually going to re-go over the objective now. The objective is the student will be able to understand what is a coordinate plane and will be able to label all the parts. This will be done through a presentation and classroom activity.